Hello, everyone, and welcome to the VML, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast and GLHF. My name is Nicole Callahan, also known as Lady of the Crease, and I am joined here tonight once again by the lovely Mishimigo and by our special guest tonight, Megan. So, Megan, why don't we start you? Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Megan. I am one half of Good Luck High Five, which is one podcast, and also a second podcast. Good Luck High Five is like like a full length, hour-ish long, weekly podcast all about Magic the Gathering. We talk about everything from like draft to standard, which I'm all prepped on standard because we talked about it last week. And then we also do the Upkeep, which is like a weekly 10-minute news show, like all of the Magic news you need to know in 10 minutes or less. Yeah, and I'm super excited to be here.
We are super excited to have you. And Misha, why don't you give everybody a quick shout out?
Hello, everyone. I am Magic Mishamigo over on Twitter and Instagram, Mishamigo on Twitch, and I'm just happy to be here. Do some cosplay stuff. I like Limited, I like Commander. That's what I do. So thanks for having me on this week with you again, Nicole.
Yeah, it's so exciting to have you back. You're a vet now. You're in. You're in the trenches with us here. And we are actually like in the trenches. It is season 9, week number 5. So we are really in the mix now. So we've got some players starting to pull away from the rest of the pack. Get ready for the playoffs. We got some players with maybe one loss left to give. It's really exciting. For those of you who don't know, we here at the VML, we're a 10-week long Magic Gathering Arena League showcasing the talents of amazing people of marginalized genders within the Magic community. It's 128 players vying for a spot. Not only do we qualify for the regional championships at the end of the season, we'll also have our top 8 qualifying for our first ever VML championships to be held on later this year. We will give away not 1, but 2 slots to a pro tour. So super exciting. It's a super exciting season, a super exciting week. And this season, we're also trying something new. Each week we have a live match. So we're going to be kicking off with that match. But first, we're going to take a look at our metagame breakdown here, week number 5 of season number 9, and see what decks people brought this week. And I don't know if it's to anybody's surprise, Grixis Midrange still kind of running the show here. Do you have any thoughts on this graph, Misha?
Yeah, I put it together and I was like, well, maybe let's see if anything switched up. And there's been a few switches, but Grixis Midrange is definitely still taking that top spot. People know it, they like it, it's very versatile. So people are still playing it and they're doing well with it. The next one we have is Mono White Midrange. That's been one of Grixis's biggest opponents. It also has a lot of versatility with the card draw exile effects, which exile when you have Grixis and a bunch of reanimator decks, that's amazing for them because then you don't have to worry about the graveyard as much. Then following that, we have a three-way tie between Esper Legends. We kind of grouped reanimator decks into one this week because there's been a lot of variants. There's been the Rakdos, there's been Boros. So we just grouped them all this week. And then we have mono red aggro. I think there was such a strong showing with one of our mono red versus Grixis decks last week that people were like, huh, this is actually a contender. So we have 10 people on mono red aggro this week. And
Right,
then we
and
have
I
oh,
think we're
sorry.
starting to see an impact from All Will Be One on standard in general. Like you said, with this Reanimator deck, do you think a deck like Reanimator, with how powerful Atraxa is, do you think we could see a surge in the number of decks like that, Megan?
I think that it's really been interesting to me to watch the reanimator decks because Atraxa is, like you said, a remarkably powerful creature. Even just landing it on the board and getting a bunch of cards off the top of your deck from it is a really great feeling in these kind of grindier matchups that are all the mid-range decks jockeying for position. That being said, I don't know that I've personally seen it perform as well that it feels like its potential is. It feels like these decks so far, at least in my opinion, are not quite living up to the potential of Atraxa.
They gotta get on her level.
Exactly.
I like that. And so we're gonna just jump right into the action here because both of our players are ready for our live match this evening. So super excited to kick this one off. We're going to be watching Headology Magic on a mono white mid range, a deck that you just gave us a little briefing about there, Misha. Do you see anything interesting in this list at all? Anything that kind of jumps out at you?
I don't know if I'd say interesting. Like it has a lot of the staples that we're seeing in these mono white decks. We've got the Lauren for sorry, for enchantment and artifact destruction. You got the Sarah Paragon for graveyard recursion. You've got your Emperors for your exile effects. So this is a pretty standard mono white build, but again, it has all of that versatility that you can go with the standard version of it because it works.
Right, we see a couple of tweaks here again from the All Will Be One, the newest set. We see one Eternal Wanderer to go with 3 Wandering Emperors, and also 4 of Ossification. What kind of impact do you think having such an efficient removal will have in some of the top matchups like Grixis midrange and things like that, Megan?
The thing that stands out to me is the expensive creatures that Grixis wants to have on the board. I'm thinking specifically of something like Shieldred, which is a 4-mana spell, and having them untap and just have a piece of 2-mana removal, and then usually, they have enough mana to follow up with another play can be pretty brutal.
Yes, for sure. It can get that value. Having 2 mana left over from removing a 4-mana creature feels pretty good. So let's see
Yep.
what Headology is up against this week. It looks like Stevie is on Azorius Soldiers. Now, this is a deck I'm not seeing too many changes, anything new, but it just is a very powerful, low to the ground, aggressive, synergistic deck. What are your thoughts here, Megan?
The number one thing that I think of in this deck is like Luminarch Aspirant wasn't gone long enough. Every time someone plays a Siege Veteran, I'm like, oh, yep, that card is still very good.
You are absolutely right. Even at 3 mana, it's just like it's still not. No,
You know what? At
Right?
3 mana, people seem very happy to pay 3 mana for a Luminarch Aspirant.
I would absolutely agree with you. Anything jumping out to you here, Misha? Do you see anything in the sideboard maybe for this mono white matchup?
I mean, we do see a couple of Wandering Embers on the sideboard, so we might see some Planeswalker versus Planeswalker action coming in. I'm not necessarily sure we're going to see any of these board wipes coming in because, this deck wants to go fast. Where mono white, I think, ends up winning in the mid to late game. So a board wipe's not going to do Stevie any good. So I think it's better to just get the stuff in that's going to be able to push through faster. Yeah. So I think that's what we're going to see. I think that Harbin, 2-mana Harbin, is just kind of bonkers in my mind. Still love him, but
Right.
he's strong.
Can win a game real quick if you are not ready for him. Just come down and be like, oh, by the way, all my soldiers are flying. Kill you.
Exactly.
So let's see if both of our players are ready. I'm ready to get going with we're almost there with both of our players. Now, I actually did want to point out the creature from one you would have as a pet. I kind of love the porcelain mite answer from Stevie there. That makes me very happy. I think Skrelv is actually adorable. I'm not big on the Phyrexians, but I think Skrelv is just like the cutest little thing. And I love the backstory where it just like keeps evading being bettered.
You and Maria have the same opinion. So we sometimes talk about like the cutest and the grossest card, and she picked Skrelv's Hive as the cutest, and I almost picked it as the grossest.
Really?
That's hilarious.
It's not my jam. Like, I don't care if those mites are cute. Still a mite. A mite's a mite.
I guess that's true. There's too many teeth for me to pick that as the grossest, though.
I'll let you know my favorite in a bit, but it's pretty gross too. I'll admit.
Keep us in suspense as our players are going here. We are on the side of Headology Magic. That is our mono white player, and we are looking up at Stevie, and she is on Azorius Soldiers. And we see, so the first one to get on the battlefield here, not surprisingly, is Stevie with that Resolute Reinforcements and a Bankbuster, a couple of Ossifications, Sarah Paragon, a Lay Down Arms in the hand of Headology. It looks kind of like a slower, no pressure hand here from Headology. What do you think about that opener, Megan?
You know, I think that this game so far is surprisingly slow. And I'm saying that we're on turn 3. There's already 3 creatures on the board, that we already have a Reckoner Bankbuster down here. But the fact that specifically the Azorius Soldiers deck didn't have a turn 1 play feels pretty important to me. The fact that if I'm either of these players, especially the mono white or the Azorius Soldiers player, I think I'd want to get out there faster. That being said, it's looking like a solid board right now.
It absolutely is. And we see Myral Shield of Argive come down onto the battlefield. Very powerful 4-drop if you leave it alive for a little while, as we see Ossification is going to quickly take care of that. So it looks like as long as Headology Magic has the answers for Stevie's early game, that she can keep herself in a good position. What do you think about Headology's position here, Misha?
When I first saw her opening hand, I was like, that's a little slow, but you do have 2 pieces of removal. You have the Bank Buster that can draw you into other things. And I think she's drawn into some further action. And like I said earlier, Headology, this deck is definitely favored in the mid to late game. So if she can just keep the threats off of Stevie's side, which those 2 ossifications, one still being in hand, I think she's in a really good position right now.
Yeah, and it looks like she's also able to get some pressure onto the battlefield in that wedding announcement. And Stevie's hand, a Lunar Veteran, a Brutal Cathar, and that's about it. And it looks like Stevie is ready to empty that hand. Brutal Catharing a token, it looks like, or nope, Ranket or Bankbuster going to draw a card, see what we can do here. But Brutal Cathar are going to say, give me that token. You're never going to get it back. Stevie up to 24. Headology down to 12, but has a handful of gas here. And Wandering Emperor, a pretty good draw on this board, maybe can start to stabilize here.
Yeah, I think the fact that we're seeing Headology with 6 mana available and still at 12 life, if I'm the aggressive person in this matchup, that's not where I want my opponent to be.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Especially, a second wedding announcement coming down. You're going to get more tokens. You're going to get your board buffed. And you have that Wandering Emperor in the pocket in case, something dangerous does come out. If, for example, we see a Harbin and everything gets pumped, there is still backup that, you can save yourself.
And Stevie just drawing a land for turn, so probably not the card she was looking for. And those pesky 1/1s are pretty good blockers for the 1/1s from Stevie's side. Gonna get in with the Lunarch Veteran, which can come back from the graveyard, and Brutal Cathar also getting in the red zone. We'll see a chump block in front of that Brutal Cathar. So looking to only take 1 here, drop down to 11, but nothing else to do on turn. So this Reckoner Bankbuster going to keep drawing cards for Headology, make that pilot, make a treasure, and it's nighttime. So I don't know that flipping Brutal Cathar into Moon Brute is going to be enough here. What do we got to see from Stevie's side to get back into this game? Is it Harbin or bust? What do you think, Misha?
I think Harbin would be definitely something that could bring Stevie back into this, but as we know, Headology has a Wandering Emperor in the pocket, and there's just a lot of stuff. Headology has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards in hand. That's hard to play against when you've only got a plains in yours.
Yes, it's six spells. That's a scary hand to be looking at. Like, if Stevie only knew. So you kind of hope, you're like, I hope it's just lands, 4 lands and maybe a Loran or something.
Yeah, you gotta hope for that flood, even though it's unlikely.
Yeah, so as we see, Headology happy to tap down those roadside reliquaries, saying, I don't need to draw cards. I have the artifact, I have the enchantment, it doesn't matter. Draw some cards. See, Wandering Emperor going to try to take care of that Moonrage Brute. Headology happily paying the 3 life to gain back 2 of it. So down to 8, but back up to 10. And looks like Loran is going to be coming down here.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. We saw earlier them Headology holding that Loran, and I think it was a little bit of like is there something that we could see out of this Azorius deck that could be a target for Loran? But the answer is no.
Yes,
here get it down there, have another blocker on this battlefield.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we do have open deck lists here, so each player knows what the other player is capable of, at least in game number 1. And Loran just being a 3/2 blocker for 3. It was like good enough. Get out on the battlefield, gum up the battlefield a little bit, making sure. I mean, the Headology is at a comfortable 10 life, but you have to be scared of things like a Harbin. It's just how do I lose this game at this point? And Headology says, I don't want to. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that she closes this out here. Ossification going to take care of even more threats from Stevie's side, and it looks like Headology is just running away with game number 1 here.
Yeah, because that Lauren, the benefits of getting that Lauren down when she played it is now you got a 4-3 with first strike. Stevie can't really block that. That would be, you could chump it, but you're not going to be taking it out. So getting a first strike with vigilance, that's pretty strong on Headology's side. So I think that was right, just getting it out there, getting it played.
And even more removal, the draw here for Headology, now an Ossification and a lay down arms in hand, as well as 2 Sarah Paragons that would have 0 targets in the graveyard at the moment. So a pretty comfortable, pretty wonderful place to be as Stevie just keeps drawing lands and lands and lands. Back to nighttime, a wedding announcement, the draw from Headology with just an absolute wealth of resources. I don't know that there is much that Stevie can do at this point to come back here. Lauren just being a vanilla, well, I guess it's a 5/4 now, so that's pretty good.
Sizable creature. This is also showing to me one of the cards that I've been really impressed with in this current standard format is Wedding Announcement. It's nothing new. It's been around for a while now, but I think that especially in this mono white mid-range deck, when you're getting into all of these mid-range matchups, it is just a nice card. It gets you creatures when you need some creatures. If you're lucky enough to already have creatures, it's going to draw you cards. I think that the standard format right now is so grindy. It's really been highlighting for me in the last couple of weeks the strength of Wedding Announcement.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because again, mono white, I feel like the biggest descriptor for it is versatility. And a Wedding Announcement is just another one of those extremely versatile cards for all the reasons you said.
Oh boy, pumping up those creatures too. Stevie forced to make some chump blocks here. Lunark Veteran now in the graveyard, able to come back. Wedding Announcement going to draw a card because Headology attacked with more than 1 creature. Siege Veteran going to come down, but it's two chump blockers is not quite going to do it as Stevie plays out the land empty-handed, saying, this is what I got. I'm going to make my Siege Veteran to a 3/3, but they're lethal even just in the air with the 1 creature.
And then Headology with the full hand of removal.
Yes. So we see lay down arms taking care of the Siege Veteran. And Headology okay with Stevie gaining the life of a lay down arm, saying it's fine. You can gain life. And having much more than lethal here, going to crew up the Reckoner Bankbuster. And everyone's getting in the red zone. It's party time. It's party time for Headology, I suppose, at least.
It's party time for 1 player here.
1 player. Oh, and it looks like Headology will take down game number 1 here on week 5 of the VML as we move to sideboards. Now, we saw Mono White pretty much dominated from the early turns, just had a grip on that game the whole time. What does Stevie on Azorius Soldiers need to do in these post-board games in order to prevent that from happening? What do you say, Megan?
Like I was mentioning before, it really just stood out to me the fact that there wasn't a turn 1 play. And even the turn 2 and turn 3 plays for me weren't putting enough pressure on that board. So I'm looking to their sideboard and I'm wondering, okay, what are some ways that we can potentially get more pressure onto this board? Or what are ways that we can generate some card advantage once we get to that late or that middle game or that late game? Jawbone Duelist, potentially something, just having another 2-drop in there, looking at something like Yoshin Frontliner. Do we want to try and be more aggressive, get in there, get under that mono white deck before they have a chance to stabilize the board? Or are they going to be looking at something more like the Wandering Emperor to say, okay, if we get to the mid game, I'm going to need something that can generate some continuous value for me. If it was me, I think I'd probably go for the cheaper spells. But I'm also not always an accomplished aggressive player.
I totally get that. As we see Stevie, Headology here, kind of looking through her sideboard as well, kind of picking and choosing. And I see a card that was catching my eye was to Vanquish the Horde. So it seems pretty good in this Azorius matchup, but also a card that I feel like we haven't seen in that many sideboards. Do you have any thoughts on that, Misha?
Yeah, I feel like we haven't seen it because there are other options for board wipes, but if your opponent, their strategy is to go wide, Vanquish the Horde really is kind of a better option because you get that discount depending on how many creatures your opponent has. So I think here this is actually a good choice because that's going to be Headology's biggest struggle is if Stevie comes out hard hitting fast and goes wide. If she can't get some of those removal pieces early enough, that's going to be something hard for her to come back from. And Vanquish the Horde is a good way to come back from that.
All right, now let's take a look at these openers here. Headology looking at a little bit awkward. It's 3 lands, 4 spells, which is great, but there's only 1 white source. What do you think, Megan?
It's a keep for Headology, and I think that I would agree here just because there's that Reckoner Bankbuster in her hand, which is going to help smooth things out if her draws don't naturally start to help out with that.
Yes, and we see after Stevie mulliganing to 6, but it is a nice curve. We see a 1, 2, 3. We see Stevie having her 1-drop this game, Siege Veteran, and Thalia being the follow-up. So a much different start here on Stevie's side. What do you think of this beginner from Stevie, Misha?
I think this is exactly what Stevie was wanting in that first game. We get 1-drop, 2-drop, 2-drop with taxes. Like that's the best kind of 2-drop you can get. So
Yes.
I think this is a much better beginning for Stevie. We do see the Headology has some removal, but again, it's taxed, so you're not getting the value of a lay down arms that you typically would for 1 mana. It also is only going to work for a 2-mana creature, which for here works for Thalia.
Yes, and we see it will take care of Thalia. So Stevie up to 23, but that pesky Siege Veteran is still out on the battlefield. Stevie, unfortunately, after mulliganing, only the 3 cards left in hand, land, a Brutal Cathar, and an Ossification. So also cards that Stevie would probably be looking to get a little bit of value on and not just play out a Brutal Cathar as a vanilla 2/2. Do you think Stevie's got to kind of speed things up a little bit to close this game out faster, or do you think playing at this pace is okay? Megan, what do you think?
I think that Thalia was looking so nice in this early game. Things have definitely gotten more difficult in these last couple of turns. That being said, I think that it's going to be as much as Stevie can, all gas all the way through the end of the game, if that's at all possible. I think that it was a really interesting choice here from Headology to take that recruitment officer instead of the Siege Veteran. That to me said that Headology feels like she needs to take care of the threat that is going to carry Stevie through the mid game or the late game, that way to accrue more cards as this keeps going. So I think it's a really interesting play here for me between one of these 2 players just trying to floor it until we hit the end of the match, and the other player saying, do you know what? I think that we might get to the mid game here.
Yeah, and we see without well, I almost spoke too soon. Headology did not have an answer for the Mirel, but now she does. So Wandering Emperor going to take care of that before it got too out of control. Stevie empty-handed, but with a Brutal Cathar and 2 1/1s. Headology's at 9. We see a little bit of removal in Headology's hand in Knockout Blow, which is interesting for this is against a non-red deck, but wanting that extra removal spell. We'll see Wandering Emperor bite the dust here, going to nighttime as Stevie didn't have a spell to play either way. So a 3/3 first striker now on that side. Headology down to 6. Almost, could possibly be lethal with a pump from our soldier land on the battlefield. What do you think, Misha? Is Headology going to be able to get back into this one?
I think there's a chance because this Steel Seraph gives lifelink. So I think Headology can definitely scratch her way back into this game if she's able to land a few attacks and get her life total back up. However, she doesn't have that much open mana. You can only do so many things, and Stevie really put the pressure on her this game.
Yes, taking a look at that Moonrage Brute, which has Ward pay 3 life, and being at 6, it's kind of scary, although Knockout Blow would gain life as well as, like you said, the Steel Seraph with lifelink that is a little bit delayed, so kind of scary from Headology's side. What cards are we looking out for from Stevie if you're Headology, Megan?
I think that what we're about to see is this Moonrage Brute, when it turns back over, is going to be able to nab this Steel Seraph because Headology played 2 spells in this turn. So they're still going to have Reckoner Bankbuster to block, but it's like right on a knife's edge right now. I feel like we're seeing the couple of turns of this game that say either Stevie is and that Siege Veteran was a nice, or that which
A Valiant Veteran.
Yes,
Sorry.
thank you. The
Oh,
other
you're good, you're
veteran.
good. The other veteran. I don't know why they both had to be veteran.
Exactly. Do you know what? We get it. They have a lot of experience in battle. That's why they're so good at this. But that was that removal spell on the Brutal Cathar, right? You have the upside of maybe you're able to punch through that last turn. But of course, now that Brutal Cathar is gone, we have the front side of Steel Seraph, which is the 5/4 instead of just the 3/3, which is pretty powerful.
Yes, we see it gonna give itself lifelink, can't attack, can't really do much with that lifelink. So gonna pass the turn back, and gotta keep in mind there is a fortified beachhead on the side of Stevie, so able to pump up those soldiers. But this is, kind of a scary place to get in. Now, Stevie does not know about the Knockout Blow in Headology's hand, so is thinking that this could possibly be lethal, and looks like they're just going to get in the red zone, nothing in hand, to say, let's give it a shot. I've got lethal on board. Everything's face up. Let's see
If I'm in Stevie's position, you have to take those risks. Like, the Headology probably has something in her hand, but if you're not going to try to push through now, there's a chance, that 5/4 has lifelink on the backswing. So you gotta risk it to try to get that lethal where you can.
All right, and we see that Steel Seraph able to eat one of those soldier tokens as Knockout Blow takes care of that Valiant Veteran before the pump. So the other soldier token will get in, and Headology will gain 2, but take 2. And it looks like we're back off to the races on Headology's side. As you said, these Steel Seraphs give lifelink and can also give something like vigilance. They already have flying, so it's a little redundant there, but is going to give the non-summoning sick Steel Seraph lifelink and vigilance. So down to 21 goes Stevie, up to 11 goes Headology, and it looks like this one might be getting out of Stevie's hands here.
We reached the point in the game, right? There's a time when 6 life is not a lot of life, and we turned the corner to where suddenly Headology having 6 life was a lot of life.
Yes, it was. And being able to almost double that life total here, that's quite a bit. Roadside Reliquary gonna draw, and having the ossification and an artifact able to draw 2 double wedding announcement seems pretty good. That's going to gum up the battlefield pretty nice on Headology's side. Having 10 power in the air, able to continuously attack lifelink. I don't know if there is coming back from this one. Is there anything Stevie can do to stay in this game, Misha?
I said this when we were looking at the player slides, that I didn't think bringing in the farewell would be worth it for Stevie. I might be eating those words a little bit, because I think that might have been the one thing that can maybe have gotten Stevie back into this, but I do not believe she boarded that in.
Yeah, I feel like this is when you know you're in trouble, when your opponent says, I'll give one of them vigilance and just one of them lifelink. You're like, uh-oh, you're comfortable enough. And yeah, Headology now at a very healthy 16 life. That Thalia might be a little too late, as Stevie is at 11 life, staring down 2 5 power Flyers. And going to draw more cards with the Roadside Reliquary has done some work in these mono white decks. It's a really versatile land. Great to see. Just even their lands do work for them. Lands, enchantments, creatures, artifacts, they got it all. Planeswalkers. What more could you want from this mono white deck?
I feel like I'm looking at this mono white deck this late in the game, and I'm like, where did all these cards come from?
Yeah, white is not typically known for all of its card draw. So what is happening?
Exactly. Like, there's so many cards in hand and so many cards on the battlefield. Where did all these cards come from?
Oh my goodness. There's another Steel Seraph. What happened? You know?
Yep, exactly. Like, oh, okay. You didn't have enough? I get it.
Yeah, when I was making these slides and I was looking over the deck list, I was like, which cards in this mono white deck do I think are going to put in work? And Steel Seraph was in my top 3. So, and we are seeing exactly why.
Oh, for sure. We are absolutely seeing this deck perform like one of the best decks in the format, as Headology Magic is going to take down this match 2-0 over Stevie. So good games to both of our players, but such an impressive showing from that mono white deck, coming back from, like being able to take over and establish battlefields from the Azorius Soldiers deck, being able to show that it has life gain, it's got card draw, it has, really reliable removal, being able to gain the life back with those Steel Seraphs. Everything just performs so fantastically and in the hands of our friend Headology. So good games to them. Congratulations on the win. That was impressive.
Yeah. That mono white deck, it sometimes just hits a point where it feels like the hits start coming and they don't stop coming. As our good friend Smash Mouth once said.
It's a great song.
A quality song, stands the test of time.
Yeah, that was a great match. That second game, I thought Stevie might have been able to claw her way back, and it was very close. Getting down to 6 life against an aggro deck, you always have to be worried about that because it could always turn the corner not in your favor.
Yeah, that like the Thalia at the start of the match on turn 2 really felt for a turn or two there like it could be the deciding factor, right? Seeing all of those removal spells, which are so important, just kind of stuck. And getting that Thalia off the battlefield again proved to be, I think, pretty key in that match.
No, for sure, it absolutely was. Just an impressive game all around, impressive match all around, and if you want to be part of the action, by the way, make sure you're following us here on twitch.tv/VMLMTG. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, VMLMTG. A big shout out again to our sponsors, Wizard of the Coast and GLHF. Good luck, high five. Now, do you prefer GLHF or Good Luck, high five?
However you want to say it. we do trend towards I'm used to saying good luck, high five.
Okay.
But also I have to say the name of our show a lot.
Right. And I feel like if I say GLHF, people might not know it's a high five.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, you mean just the action of telling my opponent GLHF is sponsoring this? Interesting, but okay.
Right? It's trademarked every time you say it in Magic Online chat.
Yeah, exactly. You had better all be typing GLHF and then a space and then like a little TM next to it.
Wait, people tell you that on Magic Online chat? Oh.
I don't open chat.
I know, right? There was a day when you had to look at the chat. It was just there.
Oh no. Now I have bubbles I have to pick from on Arena. So nice.
Your go.
I only have 2 stickers. I have the little wolf howling at the moon and then like Giso waving the hand. And it's just nice when someone else has the same stickers and they use them in reply. You like do wolf howling at moon and they do Giso waving the zombie hand and you're like, oh, we have the same stickers.
I'm personally a fan of the Oko stickers, especially the Salt Bay.
Oh, yeah.
That is pretty great. Now I'm stoked. I'm so ready to get into our next match. I'm all pumped now. I'm excited. I would love to get into our second match of the evening here.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to it. Y'all are great. Our players are great. We're gonna start here with Freddie, Mono Fred. I love that. Mono Fred aggro. So Freddie on brand and playing Mono Red aggro. Now, personally, I'd be scared to bring mono red aggro. I see a lot of our players bringing mono red aggro. It has good matchups against certain decks, mono blue, and things like that. But with cards like Lay Down Arms or Shieldred in the format right now, I don't know. I feel like I'm scared to bring mono red. What are your thoughts on the positioning of this deck in the format right now, Megan?
I think, and this plays a little bit to the match that we just watched, I have certainly seen mono red just steamroll, right? If you like bobble just a little bit, they'll take advantage of it and they will absolutely stomp you as a result. That being said, I think I agree with you that I haven't overall felt like the deck is super well positioned right now because there is a lot of incidental life gain and there's also honestly just a lot of toughness in the format. Like Shieldred is a 4-mana 4/5 and 5 is just a lot of toughness, you guys.
Right, 5 seems infinitely more than 4 toughness. It feels
Exactly.
like
5 is just like, I think when you're a mono red player, you're just like, oh, never, it might as well be infinite. It's like
Yes.
a 4/1,000,000.
Well, I'll take my obliterating bolts and still need to double spell to kill the Shieldred.
Exactly. Like that does not feel great.
But there are definitely, like you said, some strong points. Like those Shivan Devastators can come down and just end the game on the spot. Same thing with the cards like Thundering Raiju. And cards like Monastery Swiftspear and Kumano vs. Kakazan work very well together. So this is a very well put together, well thought out deck list. Like Mono Red has a collection of cards from like all over standard. So it's very well curated, I think. Any thoughts about this list, Misha?
Yeah, I think one of the big things about the mono red list that I want to draw attention to is that the incidental life game is difficult. So especially with a Shouldred on board, that one's going to be a tough one to get past. But the ones that don't have as much incremental life gain, there are cards in this deck that they're burn spells. They hit face. So if your opponent's not gaining life and you're just a few damage short of being able to get in with your creatures, burn them. Burn them out.
Can I get an upstairs in chat, please? I like that. And look, well, by the way, we have another Might fan here for a one pet. Misha still has to share hers with us as we're going to take a look at Freddie's opponent here tonight. And they are up against May. And May is on Selesnya Toxic. So a brand new archetype from Phyrexia All will be one. A lot of interesting cards, a lot to uncover here. It took a couple weeks to kind of get things going for people to be comfortable enough to submit a competitive list. But here we are, Selesnya Toxic with the Venerated Rot Priests, your Bloated Contaminators. I don't see any 5 toughness. I see a lot of, 4, 3, 2, 1
4
toughness.
is a heck of a lot of toughness.
So it still is. It is called Bloated Contaminator. So I would feel like it should be a pretty,
it's a nice round
chonker. Yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. Do you have any thoughts on Toxic as a deck, Misha? What do you think about this, breaking into the standard format?
Oof, I love it and I hate it. I love playing it. I love having it played against, or I hate having it played against me because it's just so fast. And all you have to do is count to 10, and when you're there, you're dead. So I love playing it. I love when my opponent gets to 10. I hate when I do.
Now, so the Selesnya Toxic deck has to count to 10. The mono red deck has to count to 20. Doesn't seem very fair to me. What do you think about this matchup, Megan?
This is actually going to be, I think, a really interesting matchup to watch because the Selesnya Toxic deck, I have also become a huge fan of it in the past week. Rei Sato actually won the Japan-Korea Regional Championship just last weekend piloting this deck. And I think as a result, it sort of exploded a little bit online. It's a great deck, but it does not really have interaction. You see those few copies of Annex Sentry is one way to interact. Charge of the Mites, if you're using it as removal, you're in a rough spot. A lot of times you want to be making those mites. And so I'm interested because that mono red deck has the flexibility with those burn spells to point them at creatures or to point them at face. I wonder, like, is Celestia going to be able to power through on the back of something like Skrelv, which can protect, or these Tyvar stands, which can protect those creatures? Or are we going to see Mono Red say, hey, I can match you creature for creature, but I also just happen to have all of this incidental stuff that if I need to point it at your creatures, I can. But if I need to point it at your face, I can also do that.
I love it. I'm ready to see how this match plays out. So we have Celestia Toxic versus Mono Red Aggro. Who's going to do it faster? Let's take a look at this match. Either way, I feel like this might not take very long. So we are going to be watching from the side of our Mono Red player, Freddie. They are on the bottom of the screen. And on the top, you see May. She is our Celestia Toxic player, and she's going to get us going here. 2 lands, 5 spells, but with such a low curve deck, it looks like a pretty nice hand to me on May's side. What do you think, Misha?
Yeah, I love this. May, might not be the aggro per se player, but that's also an aggro deck. And getting that Venerated Rock Priest out first thing, that's going to protect from targeted removal. Although we're going to see it come off. We're going to see it come off that board because the more of those you have out there, the more targeted removal is going to get you poison counters. So we got to say goodbye.
Yeah, we see Freddie. I keep wanting to call them Mono Fred Aggro because I know that's their moniker. That's what they go by. But we see Freddie needing to remove that strangling. I'm sure would have much rather started out with a Phoenix Chick or a Monastery Swiss Spear. So kind of throwing Mono Red off of their plan a little bit and just going to keep going, play the Feldon out as we see, ooh, that's a pretty good start from our Celestia Toxic player. We see Slaughter Singer on a double Slaughter Singer draw on their side. What do you think here, Megan?
It's interesting to me that Freddie was willing to let that first Slaughter Singer attack when we saw that there was the Lightning Strike in hand, just because with this deck, the Celestia Toxic deck, I'm always thinking about, are they corrupted, right? Is there a way that I can potentially stop myself from getting to 3 poison? Because that's the magic number where if they have something like a Skrelv's Hive, they're going to be able to turn things around and say, well, now all of my creatures have lifelink, which obviously for Mono Red is just a devastating turn of events. There's also some smaller upsides, like the Seed Core being able to turn a 1/1 into a 3/2 or something like that. That being said, this Shivan Devastator sure is nice.
Yes, being able to attack in the air, because that Bloated Contaminator is very scary. Freddie already at 5 poison. So, like you said, the big numbers for poison are 1, 3, and 10.
Yes.
So
Yeah, we've already counted to 1 and 3, so we were 5 away from that last big number.
This Bloated Contaminator has Trample and Proliferate if it hits. So you're already thinking, right? Like in my head, I'm like, okay, well, you're basically already at 7, which means that you're basically already at 10. Which I think is the snowball effect of this Toxic deck, right? Things spiral out of control so quickly with it.
Right. And that's kind of what both of our players are hoping to do a little bit.
And I was also just going to say, with that second Slaughter Specialist coming out, being able to pump that Bloated Contaminator and the other Slaughter Specialist, this may just be game due to poison.
Yep. Feldon unable to block. So there's got to be a point at which Feldon just needs to get to the red zone to look at the top of Freddie's deck. But we'll see Bloated Contaminator does connect here as a 6/6. So Freddie down to 9 life and up to 7 poison. So it's almost more of a question of, is Freddie going to go from 20 to 0 or from 0 to 10 first? Which one will it be? It's a scary place to be if you are Freddie. And
yeah, sadly, this next turn could be. I think you die from losing the life, but I think it would have been potentially both.
Yeah, we're seeing so many really great draws in their hand, but it just does not stack up against one. I know I've said it before and I'll keep saying it. 4 is so much toughness.
it feels like unfair. With the mono red players going, I'm playing 2/2s. I played a 1/2.
Exactly. Like, excuse me, your creature has how much toughness and how much power?
Right? My
Frankly
2/2 can't
rude.
even block.
Mhm.
Yeah, a
Like,
4/4 for 3 that has trample, proliferate when it connects, and poison. That's a little strong.
yeah, we see May here even being like, "Do you know what? I would rather take this 2 from Felden. You know, I'm at a very healthy 12, and I don't want to give you the opportunity if I block with one of these creatures to let you see 2 more cards. I think, you know, in this instance, I'll take the 2 and gladly just not let you potentially try and draw out of this."
Yeah, May's just going, kill me. Go ahead.
You're
I'll
like,
take
"Right?
it.
Okay.
Right on the chin.
Yeah, if you can get me from 12 to 0, like, salutes to you."
Yes, as we see it, May probably going through the last motions of this match, going to give one of the Slaughtered Singers protection from red, surprisingly, and gonna pump up that team with those Slaughtered Singer triggers, and we'll see a 6/6 bloated contaminator. And Freddie's just gonna go hands up in the air. You got me. -3 life, 13 poison. So take your pick.
Yeah, you die from the life loss, but yeah, either one. You could have gotten them there.
Now, as we see moving into sideboards, our mono red player, what are we interested in here? It looks like going to bring in those obliterating bolts, but not going to bring in those rebel salvos.
I think the Rebel salvos are a little slow in this matchup. As we just saw, May came out swinging and swinging hard. So, yeah, the Rebel salvos are just not going to be quick enough for Freddie's deck. I think I may have, granted, it doesn't take out the bloated contaminator, but I think I may have considered even bringing in the Brotherhoods in because that would take care of a lot of the other creatures in May's deck. There's just a couple that wouldn't quite get there, but that could still slow May down. So I think I might have considered some of those to come in.
Yeah, it looks like cutting things like Charge of the Mice, which Megan, I mentioned earlier, if you're using this as removal, you're not doing the right thing.
No,
So
you're having a hard time.
And you know how you asked me what my pet would be?
Oh yes, do tell.
Right there, that crawling chorus. It
No.
might have a lot of
No,
faces
no,
to
no.
feed, but I'm sure they tell good jokes and might sing me to sleep some nights. So I'll take it.
No. You're telling me you want to wake up in the middle of the night and just see all those little creepy little like porcelain mask faces watching you?
I mean, I've got cats. I already have something similar.
Oh my goodness. He called Skrull creepy.
And I stand by it.
Yes. Now, see, the beginning of this game, much different from the side of Freddie. We see Freddie able to get out on the battlefield. They're able to establish a good hold here and start to get across and get some damage across and saying, I don't care if this 1/1 attacks me. I don't care if I take a couple of poison here. Has a lightning strike ready to go and a furnace punisher, which is an interesting card also from one. It's a 3/3 for 3 with a menace at the beginning of each player's upkeep. Furnace Punisher deals 2 damage to that player unless they control 2 or more basic lands, which we can see as of right now, May does not have. So, and looking to go upstairs with that lightning strike. This is just no fear Shakespeare.
Yeah, that Furnish Punisher, even if it didn't have any text, is a 3/3 for 3 with menace. That alone is very strong. But a lot of these, typically I would see this more against like Grixis and 3-color decks. But Freddie noticed that most of May's lands are not basics. So even though it isn't, you know, maybe the best against 2 colors, this creature is actually pretty strong against May because of that lack of basics in their deck.
But we see the tables turn a little bit here as May plays out an Annex Sentry. It's a 3-mana toxic 1/1/4. There's that 4 toughness again. When it enters the battlefield, you exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or less until Annex Sentry leaves the battlefield. So that 1/4 really gumming up Freddie's game plan here. What do you think Freddie needs to do to kind of get back onto this battlefield, Megan?
Well, first they need to stop drawing lands.
That's a good plan. Good game plan.
It's my first piece of advice. I know it's really controversial. Some people say that you want to draw a lot of them, but I'm here to tell you, do you know what? This is too many lands.
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot of skill to stop drawing those.
Yeah. I really liked earlier, we saw them with their eyes right like on the end of the game, putting that lightning strike up at May's face, and then being able to play out that Furnace Punisher. But this Annex Sentry is really just so brutal. What
Oh,
what a tough card. It comes down, like we said, it's a great blocker. It has Toxic, so it's also going to advance May's game plan in this instance. And taking out that 3/3 menace, like this would be a different game if that creature was still on the board.
yeah. And we see Freddie
Absolutely.
drawing a Phoenix chick here, so able to get in for 1. So May is down to 7. Gonna try to keep chipping away as Phoenix chick can't block anyway. But Freddie is already at 4 poison and only 15 life. And there are 4 very viable attackers on the side of May. So it looks like advantage is going to our Selesnya Toxic player right now, who is already up a game here. We are in game number 2. And I don't know. It's going to be really tough for Freddie to kind of claw their way back into this. We'll see what he's able to do. That Seed Core out there might be doing some work here as well. What do you think May is thinking about right now, Misha?
I think May is wondering if Freddie has some removal in hand, and that's what they're holding. Because I know that's what I'd be afraid of. Is Freddie going to take out one of my creatures? We know,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's not what Freddie has in their hand. But if I'm May, that's what I'm thinking, and I don't want to lose my Annex Sentry because that gives Freddie a 3/3 back.
Yeah,
So
and
keeping that Annex Sentry back was definitely what May was thinking.
Yeah, and unfortunately, drawing that second Phoenix chick can't block. Being at 8 poison and 7 life, that's going to do it. So we'll have May, our Selesnya Toxic player, take down that match 2-0 over Freddie, our mono red player. Good games to both of our players.
That was a decisive showing from Selesnya Poison, I will say. As we know, going into it, I was a little bit unsure of how it would play out with Mono Red's ability to remove some of that stuff. But Selesnya Poison got on the board and just stayed there.
It definitely an impressive new deck here on the scene. Like you said, just recently won the regional championship. Who?
Yeah, in Ray Sato.
Yes. I do remember. But and we are ready to just get right into our next match here. We're going to be looking at yet another mono red aggro deck. And this one is piloted by Amanda. It looks to be just about the same stock list as we just saw Freddie on. Any thoughts, any differences, any changes here? What do you think, Misha?
Yeah, I believe this is pretty darn close to what we just saw Freddie play. I think there might be a couple of differences between the cards, maybe in the sideboard, but this is pretty much the one we just saw. So some of our big contenders, Monastery Swiftspear coming out with haste and prowess. You got your Phoenix chicks, and you got your burn spells targeted or removal. So that's what we're going to be looking at again in this mono red deck.
Absolutely, and looking good. Now, a different matchup though this time. As we take a look at Amanda's opponent, we have Kuro on. What I happen to know is their favorite. They love Azorius Control and are playing it this week. But unfortunately for Kuro, I feel like that Azorius Control is like just always falls victim to mono red aggro. That's just it. The mono red aggro is the predator of control decks when it comes to things like any format. So the 1-drop, 2-drop, it's scary. Yes.
Mono red aggro will ask, "How good is your control deck? Like, are you actually prepared?
Right.
Like,
are you ready for me?
Is this deck good? Because if this deck is not good, if this deck is even only okay, I will quickly show you."
Yeah,
That
mono
is
red finds every weakness in that control deck and exploits it to the furthest extent it can. So definitely control is not going to be favored in this game, but we'll see. We'll see how Kuro's deck stands up against its mono red predator.
there are certainly some cards in this deck like Depopulate. I see a couple of copies of Sunset Revelry. It's a 2-drop,
Oh,
gain some life, put some
it's
creatures
a
out onto the
nice
battlefield.
card in this kind of matchup.
Yes, and we see Kuro with multiple copies of that. A couple of copies of Pithing Needle as well. So try to be ready for any sort of planeswalkery decks and things like that. So it'll be a very interesting matchup. We'll see if Kuro will be able to slow down our mono red player as we head into match number 3 of the night. We have Azorius Control versus Mono Red Aggro. We'll be watching from the side of our Mono Red Aggro player, Amanda. And on the top, we have Kuro they are on the Azorius Control plan. And any thoughts on the openers from our players? Amanda here, 3 lands, 4 spells. What do you think, Megan?
It doesn't have a Monastery Swift Spear, but it does have a Feldon. So I think, especially knowing that some of the removal spells that this artifact control deck might come out with, I suppose it has Sunset Revelry. So if you are blocking with those tokens, you're going to get those creatures, or you're going to get those cards off of Feldon. That has a nice advantage to it. That being said, I think I would have liked to see a few more creatures in this hand instead of Lightning Strike. Is it bad enough that I would throw it back? Absolutely not. I'm just saying, in a perfect world, I would have liked to see more stuff to attack with.
And we see that Arena Shuffler at work here as that Play with Fire went upstairs on Kuro and then scried a Lightning Strike to the bottom, but then drew a land and then a Lightning Strike. So we've seen 3 out of the 4 Lightning Strikes in Amanda's deck. Amanda happy to go upstairs. And like Amisha had said earlier, Mono Red can burn you out to finish you off, but definitely not the recurring damage that Amanda would like to see from her deck here so early on in this blue-white control matchup. But Skye, definitely a good draw here. What are your thoughts on Skye in this matchup, Misha?
When you're go planning, it's an open board. Squeak's great, but I think I might have played my 4th land and slammed that Raiju first. It gives a pump, and I believe it has haste as well. So I think I might have gone the Raiju route, but been a little bit worried that there might have been a counter spell in Kuro's hand.
Yes, and I mean, Kuro is at 6, so these lightning strikes, not the best, but they've been doing what they were meant to do in this matchup, and that is going face. Go ahead, Megan.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say I actually really love this play because it's open deck lists. And looking at this artifact control deck, a lot of the removal that we see once these creatures are on the board is something like Depopulate. And so Amanda feels like she's kind of saying, hey, I know you need to get this Feldon off the board, right? Like it's here, it's going to keep attacking you. And if you are going to spend 4 mana to do that, like that is okay. I will then untap and have some hasty creatures.
Yes, that is a win for Amanda, as we see Disruption Protocol taking care of that Thundering Raiju. So Kuro, we're going to tap down to take care of that. We see a pause, seeing if Kuro wants to, and it looks like Kuro will answer this Feldon finally with a March of Otherworldly Light, and going to pitch the Depopulate to do that, as we see Amanda drawing another Feldon here. So what is your thoughts from Amanda's side when you see Kuro exiling that Depopulate to cast that March? What do you think, Misha?
Honestly, I'm feeling pretty darn good because that Depopulate is gonna, if I start building my board back up, that's gonna knock me down hard. So seeing that Depopulate going in the graveyard, like, great, I'm gonna rebuild and I'm gonna build it stronger now.
Yes, and Feldon's back again, and we'll see if Kuro, it looks like, vanish into eternity. So that's tapping pretty heavy to take care of a 2-mana threat from Amanda's side, but being able to hang on at 6 life. And we see Skye being cast here into a lot of open mana, but Amanda's hand sort of forced at this point. What do you think, Megan?
Yeah, I think Amanda has reached the point of the game where it's like, I'm gonna jam my cards because I'm running thin on spells here, and if they're gonna land, they're gonna land. I just need to poke at it and say, do you have an answer yet? Like, do you have an answer right now? And cross your fingers and hope the answer is no.
Yes.
Exactly.
There's also, I just want to point out, there's never been a more sad card than this Strangle in this matchup. Strangle is like, hey, there you only have two burn spells that cannot be pointed at a player's face, and here I am. I'm so sorry.
You are so right. I have a feeling that Strangle may be coming out in sideboarding.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's just kind of like, well, guess what's going to be here forever.
And we see after Kuro did some digging with that Silver Scrutiny, unable to come up with an answer for that Skye. So Amanda on Mono Red is going to take down game number 1 here as we head into sideboarding. And those Strangles could not have come out any quicker.
Right? Sometimes there's some matchups where you have to think like, what am I going to take out? Make some careful choices. And then there's some where you're like, get this card out of my deck, please.
Yeah, when you have a dead card in your hand most of the game, you know that's not something that you want to bring back after boarding.
Yep.
And we see, as we've mentioned, it's open deck lists. So we know what's going on, and there's that Strangles wouldn't do too much. As we see, there is an Eternal Wanderer in the sideboard of Kuro, but whether or not they would even come in, and then it would be one of the only targets for Strangle. So yeah, very corner casey. And we're going to take a look at Kuro's sideboard here, as Knockout Blow also couldn't come in any quicker. So saying, I need some cheap removal, ways to answer these early threats from the side of Amanda. Now, post sideboard, what do you think about this matchup, Megan?
You know, it's pretty challenging. I think Mono Red, I very much expect to take game 1 in this matchup. That went pretty, very much according to plan for the Mono Red deck. And that being said, I wish that there were more ways to disrupt what they were doing, which is always one of the pitfalls of a control deck, right? In sideboarding, you're like, okay, how many slots do I have to answer these different kinds of decks that I know that I'm going to come up against? And 4 Knockout Blow does look very nice, having a little bit of incidental life gain, having a cheap removal spell against a red deck. That being said, I wish that this sideboard could be like 15 Knockout Blows in this matchup.
Yeah, Knockout Blow is definitely going to be one of the strongest pieces that Kuro can draw. And I was going to say, being on the draw, Amanda only keeping a handful of 2-drops, that's a little slow for Mono Red, but then drawing straight into that Phoenix chick, it's like, never mind, never didn't have it.
Yeah, I always had this 1 drop.
Amanda's toggle was kind of toggling over the 2 lightning strikes over and over again. Like, is this what we're gonna do? Is this the plan for this matchup? Like, keeping the lightning strikes in, they go upstairs, they're fine, So, and we see a Tablet of Completion on the side of Kuro, who did have to mulligan to 6 in this game here, and a nice draw once again from the side of Amanda on their 3rd turn, going to draw Skye. So going to really start to take command of this battlefield, but Kuro drawing that 4th land feels pretty good, as Depopulate going to come down. Now this does only destroy, so Skye may come back a little later, and this also opens up the lane for Jaya. What are your thoughts on Jaya Fiery Negotiator, Megan?
This is one of the cards that can come in out of the sideboard for Mono Red that I think has given it as much purchase as it has in the standard format right now, saying against these mid-range decks, against these control decks, Jaya has been a really solid performer, being able to put all of those prowess monks out there. However, if I'm looking at it and saying, does it stand up to something like the Eternal Wanderer? Well, a double striking 2/2 is not going to look as great. Or is not like my 1/1 monks are not going to look as great against these double striking 2/2 samurai.
That is
double striking 2/2s. That's when I first saw the Eternal Wanderer, I was like, that's a little strong. Those are some really beefy tokens.
Yeah.
So it feels like all of a sudden these lightning strikes became important.
Yes, absolutely. We see Amanda having enough mana, and we see her kind of thinking this one out, I think that the position right now absolutely merits it, of saying there's the opportunity to get the Eternal Wanderer off the board right now. You're going to have to throw a lot of cards at the board to make that happen. We're going to have to throw these lightning strikes around for sure. Is it worth getting that card off the board to throw all this stuff at it?
Now, we're seeing that Kuro only has one card left in hand. And the idea is, do I leave the Eternal Wanderer alone at 5 loyalty, or there's it looks like the lightning strikes are going to go to that Eternal Wanderer to maybe take it down, take it off the battlefield. And it is going to grow the monk tokens, as they do have prowess. So this 2/2 double striker is going to trade with the 3/3 token, and just a March of Otherworldly Light and a Scatter Ray left in Kuro's hand, and still at 10 life though. What kind of position do you think Kuro's in, Misha?
Kuro is definitely in a very difficult position right here. 10 life against mono red without anything on your board. That's a scary, scary position, especially, we're trying to get a Thundering Raiju out. It's not going to happen. But there is still a play with fire that triggers the prowess that can go face, and that's going to help Amanda scry. So Amanda seems to be in a pretty good spot right now, and I'd be a little afraid if I were Kuro.
I'm just gonna say, it sounds like we have a fan of March of Otherworldly Light here. The art.
My cat has come to see what kind of cats are running around in the battlefield.
And that March is staying in Kuro's hand for now, as deciding to not yet deploy it on one of these 1/1 prowess monks. So Jaya's just going to keep pumping them out, saying, you know what, I'm just going to keep going, keep making them. And Jaya, getting up to a pretty high loyalty here, is able to ultimate next turn.
The number of times in my life that I've looked at March of Otherworldly Light and said, that sure does not say Planeswalker on it, is very high. And it has certainly stood out to me in this, in the last couple of turns of this game, as we've seen this Jaya do all of the work, that Jaya needs to do to close out this game. And March of Otherworldly Light is just like, yeah, sorry, that's not my bag. I don't do that.
Yes. We see these monks getting a real big Moonstare prototype, going to channel here and going to put the monk token, gives you the option to put it on the bottom of your library. So Amanda's going to do just that, sort of, but not really. And then play with fire, going to go upstairs. So a scry, and it's going to be Phoenix Chick to the top, saying, you know what, even if I can get that one more damage in, it might matter here. That 1 damage haste flyer might make a difference in this matchup. But we see Kuro drawing a land. It's a Field of Ruin, and that will do it. So our mono red player going to take down that match 2-0 over Kuro on Azorius Control. Good games to both of our players. Congrats to Amanda on the win. And that was, as much as the toxic deck was impressive against mono red, I feel like seeing mono red playing against the Azorius Control, that was a very impressive showing from a mono red player in that deck.
Yeah, against control is where mono red shines, right? Like, that was definitely favored in Amanda's direction, and unfortunately for Kuro, that is exactly how it played out.
Yes, absolutely. And that's going to bring us to our final match of the evening here. Wow, that went quick.
Mono red decks are here saying,
right?
like, hey, we'll make a quick evening of it for you.
Right? Mono red, toxic, just get it done.
Yep.
Mono red, get them dead. I like it. I like it. Red. So let's take a look at our fourth and final match of the evening. We are going to be watching Skye here on Dimir Poison. So a toxic deck, but we're used to seeing green-white toxic. This is blue-black, and it's quite a bit different. A lot of more proliferate and things like that. Any thoughts on this deck list, Megan?
As soon as I saw cards like Voidwing Hybrid, Prologue to Phyresis, I was dreaming of this deck. I'm so glad that someone has gone and done it. Right? Like, this for me is this beautiful intersection of a little bit of a control shell. We see tons of removal in here. Great stuff like Anoint with Affliction, Drown and Ichor, which is also going to help get your game plan done. And then also, like those Celestia decks, it's only counting to 10. So it says, I'm going to try and control the board, but also I could potentially kill you pretty quickly here.
Yes, and one of the big differences we see between the green-white and this blue-black deck is they're only Skye. She's only playing 6 creatures. That's it. It's 4 Voidwing hybrids and the 2 Blight Belly Rats. That's it. No more need to play anything else. And so it's a very controlling deck as opposed to the green-white deck, which feels very aggressive. What are your thoughts between the 2 different styles of deck, Misha?
Yeah, I feel like the Dimir deck it's a little risky because you really need to get one of those creatures out very early. If you can't get a creature and get it to hit at least one time, I know there are a couple cards in this deck that do give poison counters without having to do combat damage, but combat damage is the easiest way to assign those poison counters, right? And then you're kind of banking on being able to proliferate with some of the other cards. Honestly, I'm kind of excited to see if Vraska is going to make an appearance. So
definitely, and I just want to say really quick about Skye's choice for a pet. Says she's on the same team as me and Maria. Apparently, she said Skrell because they're cute in a very creepy way. So otherwise, not a fan. Wants a cute kitten or a fairy instead. I don't know. So let's take a look at Skye's opponent tonight. We are going to see Itsannamargaret on Grixis Midrange, our most popular deck in the field this week and for many weeks preceding this week. So any thoughts on how this Grixis Midrange deck is going to size up against sort of like a blue-black control, like don't let me cast my spells, otherwise I'm going to proliferate, get a bunch of poison counters on you, and kill you. It doesn't matter if you have a Shieldred. You can gain 1,000,000 life. It's not going to kill me. So what do you think, Megan?
I think we're going to see the play here between how much removal and how effective is it really for this blue-black proliferate deck? Because Grixis Midrange, I've been consistently impressed with the speed of that deck in closing out games if it goes unimpeded, right? It truly is a mid-range deck because it can turn the corner and kill you with its creatures really swiftly if you're not putting enough speed bumps in its way. And so I'm wondering here, I'm looking through these Anoint with Afflictions, these Drown and Ichors, this stuff that can get ahead of it, like bring the ending. And I'm wondering, is this going to be enough? Is this going to put enough speed bumps down in front of this Grixis deck to stop it from taking over the game?
One of the things I'm definitely looking at here is, you already brought this up, Nicole, but Skye only has 6 creatures. This Grixis deck has a lot of removal pieces for a more creature-based deck. So I think this is going to be very interesting post-sideboard, because you're probably going to see a lot of these removal pieces come out, and maybe some, duresses and counter spells coming in, because those are what we're really wanting to avoid. Is if I can prevent my opponent from drawing more cards, removing my creatures, and ultimately giving me more poison counters, I think that in the long run is going to be a better strategy for Anna-Margaret, because again, like we said, Anna has to count to 20. Skye only has to count to 10.
Yes, and we see Anna hoping not to see that Vraska. Again, not looking forward to playing against that. And another point for Skrelv here as we get into our 4th and final match of the evening.
Megan, get it.
I need to ask you then. Maybe not close enough. I don't know. Maybe that's the key, is you kind of like admire the art from afar. As we see 6 lands and a Vraska is the hand, the opener here from Skye. Gonna quickly ship that one back. So Megan, if it's not Skrelv, then what would your pet from 1 be?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I mean, as some people have pointed out, there are truly not an abundance of options.
So, there's abundance of options, just not, great ones.
Not ones that I would allow in my home. Okay, this is a good question. Let me think about it. I will come to you with an alternative.
Absolutely. You know what? I can give you can give me one from, if you have one from 1. I'll let you also just have the breadth of standard as well, though. If you want to go back and pick
You know
something
what?
a little more desirable from Dominaria or something.
I can pick something from the cursed plains of Phyrexia, from the cursed world.
And we see Skye being able to get that super important first poison encounter onto Anna here. And now Anna is our top player on Grixis Midrange, and we have Skye. She's our bottom player on Demir Poison. And it looked like a much better 6 from the side of Skye, and a bit of like kind of draw go. Anna got down there Reckoner Bankbuster, which Skye had said doesn't really have a way to deal with a resolved Bankbuster once it's on the battlefield in game number 1. So a good source of card advantage for Anna here, and Skye is just kind of playing the waiting game. Any thoughts about this hand on Skye side, Misha?
In my opinion, it's a little slow, but I mean that's okay. Sky's the control player in this matchup, so we can work with a little bit slow. I do think it's interesting that Anna did get their second Bankbuster though, so she's in a good position to just keep drawing cards and trying to look for answers to whatever Sky's doing.
Absolutely. As this experimental augury is a good way to start digging. And we see the second bank buster from Anna. So definitely a slower start from our Grixis mid-range player, as experimental augury going to add another poison counter. So Anna up to 2 poison. We see Vraska in hand, a Sheoldred's Edict to take care of perhaps one of Anna's first or bigger threats, and an Anoint with Affliction as well that will get a bit better once Anna is up to 3 poison. Any thoughts on what could Anna, with 6 cards in hand and a wealth of card draw in the bank busters, do you think she kind of has to get this party started and kind of get onto the battlefield here before she dies from poison counters? Doesn't know it's 3 hands, 3 spells in Skye's hand, but at what point does she need to start just kind of deploying threats? What do you think, Megan?
This is an interesting point where she's at right now, because I think that there's one world where it's like, if she had had something like a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, then it's like, oh, I think that I would maybe want to jam that and start getting stuff onto the battlefield. That being said, she mentioned one of the cards that she really doesn't want to play against is Vraska. And we are now in territory where next turn we can see Skye play that Vraska. And so it's, I think unfortunately Vraska, Vraska's potentially going to come into play here. Does Itsannamargaret have a counterspell to deal with that? No, that's why we're seeing her jam those creatures onto the battlefield maybe to deal with it. I'm ready to see this Gorgon.
Me too. I do want to note that Anna does now have she is corrupted. So we hit that pivotal 3 poisons. So that is going to be a big deal for Skye's deck.
Yeah, we see this Bring the Ending now is now just a counterspell.
And especially it's definitely hard because Fable is one of those things that I know Anna's probably looking for and needing to resolve. And Anna does have a counter spell, so we will see that Fable resolve.
Yeah, this play here between these two decks has been interesting because once again, right, we see Anna doing a great job of saying, I can't play scared of what might be in my opponent's hand. I'm going to play to what needs to happen in this match. I need to get this Fable of the Mirror Breaker down. It's worth spending this Make Disappear on.
Yes, as Anna's only going to go up as far as poison counters go, and Skye going to Anoint with Affliction the Goblin Shaman token with just 1 mana up from Anna, so nothing to really worry about, and allowing this Might to get in once again for unless Anna has something to say about it. And ooh, there's that cut down. Now, we had spoken about the abundance of removal in Anna's deck here in game 1, as Skye doesn't really have too many targets. So being able to use it on a Mirix token, who is that a win for, do you think, Misha?
I I mean, I would definitely say it's in Skye's favor because it's a token. You still have the Murex, you can still make more mites. But I mean, for Anna, that 1-1 could be pivotal because this is gonna probably be a poison race. So to prevent even one poison counter, I think that's a good use of a 1 mana removal spell. So I don't necessarily think, it was bad for either, but I think it was definitely a little bit better for Skye.
Now, a card that we know that Anna has plenty of mana now, and has been trying to be cautious, maybe playing around counters magic and things like that. But Invoke Despair is a 4 of in Anna's deck, and that is an answer, a clean answer for Vraska, in addition to drawing Anna some cards and draining Skye of some life. Do you think that there's an argument here for Anna to start wanting to play an Invoke Despair, not knowing about the Vraska in Skye's hand? Because Anna does have it seems like Anna has a lot of resources. We're not sure what's in her hand, but to have 7 cards and uh wanting to end this game sooner rather than later, to not get cheesed out by poison damage. We see this Bankbuster getting in and taking Skye down to 10. What do you think Anna's next plays would be? Do you think she's going to look to deploy like smaller threats? Is she going to hold up mana to answer anything Skye has to do? Or what do you think is going to happen, Misha?
If I were Anna, I would be slamming invoke after invoke after invoke. And if I don't have them, I'm gonna try to look for them because exactly like you said, that takes care of Vraska. They'll take care of these pesky mites. Maybe a rat instead, but it'll take care of some of these things that Skye keeps throwing out there that Anna cares about and needs to push through. Because Skye's at 7. If Anna can keep pushing that damage through, Anna could take this.
Yes, as we see Bankbuster, one of them clean with 0 uh markers on it, so it's free to can't draw any more cards. Might as well get in the red zone. And staring at this 2/2, kind of trying to figure out, because when it dies, it's going to proliferate. So Anna's almost as good as at 6 poison right now, and it's one of those things you have to tread lightly because there are 2 cards in Skye's hand. Vraska does proliferate. What is the safe play here from Anna's side when she kind of wants this game to end sooner rather than later, but so does Skye. So it's kind of a scary place to be. What do you think, Megan?
Yeah, I think we see, her killing the rat now because the answer is right. Either I don't get damage through this turn and the rat dies, or I just go ahead, proactively kill this rat and push this damage through. And we see her saying, like, do you know what? If you're able to kill me with the proliferate spells in your hand, then I'm just dead. I'm dead to them now, and I'm dead to them later. I might as well proactively get this rat off the battlefield and try and close out this game.
Yes, and we see that's what it looks like Anna's going to try to do here. Vraska is getting up there in loyalty, though, as both Bankbusters are going to be activated, one off the pilot, one off the Blood Tithe Harvester, and gonna get in for lethal here. So that's gonna take down game number 1. And Grixis Midrange, is anything gonna stop this deck?
It is exceptionally hard to stop Grixis midrange.
We're going to see Skye trying her best here as we move to sideboards. So having no interest in things like Path of Peril, going to actually cut the creatures that had been in the deck at all. Voidwing Hybrid and Blightbelly Rat. What do you think about those choices, Misha?
I think that's very interesting because, poison was the entire goal. And I think those rats, that added a counter. I think those void wings, if you can get them out on 2, I think those are really difficult because if I were Anna, I'd be cutting a lot of my removal. So I think I'd be more likely to want to bring in or at least keep in my creatures. So I
Right.
think that was an interesting move on Skye's part.
Right. And maybe a Skye counting on Anna keeping in some number of removal spells as we get kicked off here. Game number 2. We're going to start with a Rafine's Tower on the side of Skye, and a pass back. It's just a tap land from Anna as well. It's just tap land go so far. What do you think about this opener on Skye's side, Megan?
I think it's really nice to see that Anna didn't have a 2-drop to play there, something like a Blood Tithe Harvester, because if Skye had in this moment kind of gotten behind the game, ended up in a place where she has to answer a creature with Anoint with Affliction and can continue to not hold up something like Bring the Ending for future threats, then we see her really quickly get behind on this game. But because Anna had that tap land and didn't have a turn 2 play, we see her now being able to play this game at the tempo that she wants. She can let this Wandering Mind resolve. She knows that she has an answer. She'll be able to untap and have access to 4 mana. The world's kind of her oyster right now.
We see the untap and promptly answering this Wandering Mind going to proliferate. So from 0 to 2, so very quickly goes Itsannamargaret's poison counters. And Skye with 2 mana up, holding up cards like Bring the Ending to what Skye hopes is to answer any sort of threat that Itsannamargaret could play on this turn, knowing that Fable is in hand off of that Wandering Mind. What do you think about Skye's position here, Misha?
I think Skye's in a good spot. Having that Bring the Ending that will counter maybe not the Blood Tithe Harvester, because right now Anna is not yet corrupted. That does not, you will have to pay the extra 2, and she has the extra 2 to pay. But, we know, like you said, the Fable's in hand. So we're preparing for that. And this Anoint with Affliction doesn't need to be corrupted to be able to take out a 2-drop. So Skye's in a good spot, and we see that Skye has the ability to get Anna to the corrupted point now.
This Experimental Augury also in hand to do a little bit of digging. A Drown in Ichor, pretty clean answer, as well as, like you said, a Bring the Ending in case Anna decides to tap out to not be able to pay the tax, as Anna is not quite corrupted yet. And at what point do you think Anna just needs to cast this Fable of the Mirror Breaker that Skye knows about? What do you think, Megan?
I think that we are swiftly approaching that point. 5 mana is a really sweet spot to do it because you've got the 3 for the Fable, and then you have a lot of the classic 2 mana counter spells that we know from the Grixis deck, most notably Make Disappear, right? We know 5 mana, it's like, hey, do you know what? That is the magic number for casting a Fable and having a backup Make Disappear to try and push it through and resolve it.
And we see Experimental Augury getting cast here to bring Anna up to corrupted. So this Bring the Ending going to just be a clean 2 mana counter for Fable. Does Anna have the answer here? Tapping some mana. So it looks like she might, and no.
I think Anna thought that because at that point it hadn't quite picked up, that the paying the 2 would counter it. But as we know, the proliferate happens prior because of the stack, bringing it up to 3, and then you're corrupted, and it's just a straight counter spell.
Yes, so it's tough. These are very competitive games. There's a lot on the line here. Like we said, it's week number 5, so these players playing to make it to the playoffs. As we see our first Invoke Despair of the match, Skye having nothing to sacrifice here. So Anna going to reload, drawing 3 cards, but only has 1 mana up right now. We see a Duress, a scary card from Anna's side, a card that Skye said that they had been worried about. So Skye's going to reveal her hand here. What do you take if you're Anna? What do you think, Megan?
I think that these are both really nice options. I agree with taking the proliferate card, just saying, hey, I know that your game plan is try to kill me with proliferate. I think that you've probably doubled down on that strategy since all that I've seen from you post board are removal spells. So I'm going to go ahead and both of these remove a card. I'll take the one that happens to also further your plan for winning the game. I think it's also right now really standing out to me how little card draw this blue-black deck has. It has some nice stuff like Experimental Augury, but that's a card that is still only a single card for card. Where we see this Grixis deck doing again, one of the many things that it does well, and just saying like, I will outcard you unless you have a plan for not being outcarded.
Yes, and we see like Skye had been able to draw a couple of cards here and there off of like the infectious inquiry, but is still, like you said, being outcarded by Anna pretty decisively, as we
Mhm.
see Lady of
Yeah.
the Hour. Veraska is the draw here from Skye. Is that a start to getting back into this game, getting in control of this game? What do you think, Misha?
I think it is because Vraska comes down. You can do your proliferating. You have the Anoint with Affliction to take out that Goblin token to keep Vraska safe. Oh, but
Ooh.
we will see a negate come for Vraska.
Yes, and in response saying, well, your shields are down, so I might as well take care of that goblin shaman token, and it's gonna go back to Anna here. And so Skye left with just another anoint in hand. Fable of the Mirror Breaker going to curate Anna's hand a bit. We see cut down and go for the throat hitting the bin here. Any thoughts on those discards, Megan?
Like we were saying, at this point, I think that Anna's maybe onto the fact that Skye took out what few creatures there were. And she's saying, like, do you know what? I have seen absolutely nothing that merits having these cards in my hand. Let's bin them.
And
Couldn't agree more.
Mhm. They're,
we
not quite as bad as that strangle, but up there.
Now we'll
Yeah.
see Anoint with Affliction trying to take care of the Shieldred here. Does Anna have an answer? This is before Skye's draw step, and Make Disappear going to force Skye, saying, you know what? You want to take care of my Shieldred? Fine, but I'm going to tax you a little further. As we see the second copy of Infectious Inquiry going to draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, and Voidwing Hybrid, the draw here. So one of probably very few creatures left in Skye's deck. And we see Reflection of Kiki Jiki flipped on the side of Itsannamargaret. The Mirrex is in play on Skye's side. Anna is at 5 poison. Do you think there's enough here for Skye to get back into this game? What do you think, Misha?
Ooh. I'm not going to count Skye out. I think there are definitely avenues that they can take to still get back into it. We were talking earlier about how Skye hadn't really been drawing a lot of cards, and I was looking through their deck list, and there's a 4 of distorted curiosity, or yeah, curiosity that lets you draw 2. Um, so I don't think we've seen any of those. So there are a lot of ways for Skye to get some more card advantage, get some answers, and to really get back in here because Anna's at 5. So it's not going to take too much more to be able to get to 10. But Anna is implying a lot of pressure.
So as we see, Takanuma, Abandoned Mire, just kind of in Skye's hand. Another way to return the Voidwing Hybrid. But we're going to have an active Reflection of Kiki Jiki next turn, as Shieldred's Edict is going to come down, forcing Skye to sacrifice her hybrid. And this is a scary place to be. This is almost lethal. What do you think, Megan?
Yeah, I think that this is a really rough place for Skye. We just haven't really seen as much of the poison pressure from this deck as I think that we need to see this blue-black deck close out this match before they get run over by this card advantage. I think that this deck is really sweet. It seems really cool. That being said, this Grixis deck that is so prominent in the standard format right now will absolutely find any little holes that are there in your strategy, right? And I think that we're seeing it poke holes in this blue black deck to the tune of, hey, you can't keep up with me in card advantage. You're supposed to be blue black. That should be your thing, but like I will outcard you.
Yes, as we see Siphon Insight after Siphon Insight on Itsannamargaret's side, and getting ready to get in with these double Goblin Shaman tokens, one of them being copied by that Reflection of Kiki Jiki, getting in, taking Skye, having her life total from 8 down to 4. Let's see if Skye can draw something to get out of this corner. We'll see a Mirrex in play, has the Takanuma in hand, but will this all be enough? Before passing the turn back, and say, I'm going to take a little looky-loo at the top of your deck here, see if there's anything good to steal, anything spicy. Reflection of Kikijiki will have Itsannamargaret sacrifice the 1 token. And Skye mulling over their choices here. It's gonna take a lot for Skye to get back into this, but it is not impossible. We'll see what she turns over with this Takanuma. And there is a Veraska. The Veraska that went down earlier, and this Veraska came back to hand. So is that a start? What do you think, Misha?
I definitely think that's a start because what is it? Vraska's -2. I mean, you can do a little bit of work trying to get that Fable off the board with that -2. You cannot cast it for its well, I was going to say you can't cast it for its completed cost because you have to keep that life. But that will also tap you completely out and make you a little bit more vulnerable.
Yes, we'll see. Veraska have the bring the ending cast against it just to tax it to say, you know what, if you're going to cast this, I'm going to make you tap out all the way. So feels pretty bad. Skye's like, that was mine. I was, bring the ending working against me now. But like you said, Vraska coming down, taking care of the Fable, the Reflection of Kikijiki, the active one at the very least, as the second one turns over. So another reflection is on the battlefield. That first one is now a treasure. Another land from Itsannamargaret. We see prologue to Phrasis, drawing a card. So at least it's a cycle. And we'll see as Skye gets her own poison counter here and Corpse Appraiser to follow things up. What do you think Itsannamargaret's digging for here, Megan?
I would say any counter spells that will really preclude Skye from getting back in this game. If there's something, like I think at this point, even a make disappear would potentially do it to stop them from saying, hey, maybe you draw another Vraska and you can use this current Vraska to kill a creature and then play another Vraska and maybe kill another creature with that. Something that will just say, absolutely shut the door
Yes.
on Skye clawing their way back into this game.
Yes, and Anna's ready. She's starting to close that door, about to lock it as she gets in with this Goblin Shaman token for 2 life. And once again, have Skye's life total. So she is down to 2 with 1 poison counter and just a Rafine's Tower in hand. An active Vraska. So Vraska was left out on the battlefield. Will be able to Midas and take care of 1 threat again. But right now, Anna has 3 lethal threats on the battlefield, 3.5 if you count Reckoner Bankbuster, if you have something to crew it with, and bring the ending. Probably not the card that Skye was looking for. Not going to give up quite yet. Let's cycle that tower, see if we can find a little something in there. And hey, it's the first Distorted Curiosity. That could have used you a few turns ago.
This card does look so good, right? Like in this moment, seeing it cast for a single blue mana, draw some cards, it's like, would I like to be casting that? Yes. Why hasn't it shown up more often?
Exactly. We'll see it in drawing a couple and prologue to Phrasis. And even with the proliferate would just fall just short of being able to get up to that 10 poison on Anna if they were both to resolve, as we see the first one go through. Playing a land, it's able to plus Vraska would go up to 7 poison. That second prologue would get up to 8, but it would not quite finish Anna off, even if it were to resolve. So Skye kind of thinking it over here, but it looks like the writing is on the wall.
Yeah. In this moment, again, this blue-black deck is looking really cool, but it's just notable, right, that we haven't seen it show up like this continuously throughout this match. It's like, oh yeah, you look really great. It's really cool that you're getting from 5 to 8 poison in this single turn, kind of coming out of nowhere and closing that gap. If only it had been, if only this deck had shown us that it was able to do that throughout the course of the match instead of here and there in spurts.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think part of the deciding factor of what looks to be the end of this game is, I think, not drawing all those card draw spells that Skye really was depending on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and we see Veraska gonna go right back to hand from that serum snare that was stolen by Itsannamargaret from Skye and proliferating. Skye gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna give myself an extra poison counter because why not?
Yep.
But we will see our Grixis mid-range player Anna take that one down 2-0 over Skye on Zemir Poison. Good games to both of our players there. And is anything gonna stop Grixis mid-range?
The only thing I've seen stop it so far is mono red once. So
I will say I'm eager to see kind of how the Esper Legends decks and I think the mono white mid-range decks adapt to Grixis mid-range in the coming weeks. I think that they've got what it takes. There's certainly a lot of play to those matches that makes them super interesting.
I like it. A lot of lists are trying to tune themselves to try to need to be able to beat that Grixis mid-range deck, or you're not gonna cut it in standard. Now, before we go, Megan, I need to know, what's your pet?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Oh no. So
Look, I was looking and like I said, it is slim pickings on Phyrexia if you are interested in having a pet. You can have like do you want something that's weird and creepy? Okay. My answer is the elephant on Goldwarden's helm. Can I have the elephant?
Yes, you can. Of
Okay.
course you can. That's a really
Great.
good answer.
He looks real cute. Do you know what? Is it gonna bankrupt me trying to care for it? Absolutely. But would
at
I
least
rather
it's not a
have that
mite.
than a mite creeping around my home at night? Yes.
you don't want a six-faced porcelain mask in your home eating you out of
Look,
your home because there's so
I'm
many
pretty
faces?
sure that Edgar Allan Poe like wrote that story, and I don't need to live inside of it.
Fair enough.
Here's something that none of us have actually kind of considered just yet. My pick would be a sliver, because not only is it a good pet, it is every other pet.
That is it's everything all at the same time, which I don't know if that's like good or bad. It's an elephant, beast, mite, goblin, soldier.
You know,
It
I
is
think it'd be
anything
nice.
it
It would
needs
have
to be.
it would simultaneously have all of the bad behaviors of all misbehaved pets, but all of the good behaviors of all the well-behaved pets.
I like it. I like it. I'm into like, the shapeshifter thing. That'd be kind of okay, I guess. Unless like I turned around and I'm like, I didn't know if it was that, like there's a squirrel running around. I'm like, I don't know if that's my pet or if that's just a squirrel. Like if I should get it inside or not, So
Yeah.
but I
I
guess
feel like I could get really weird really fast if it
Right?
shapeshifts into like a human though. Ugh.
Oh, yeah, maybe
Yeah,
I'll
you're
skip
like,
the
"Wait a
shape.
second."
I'm gonna go back to Skrull. I'll take Skrull instead. But that will do it tonight for us here. Week number 5 of the VML. Again, thank you all so much for joining us. Before you go, make sure you're following us here on twitch.tv/VMLMTG. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at VMLMTG and give us our YouTube a follow as well. If you missed any of the matches tonight, those will be up there soon. Once again, the biggest thanks to Wizards of the Coast and Good Luck High Five for their sponsorship, for all of their support this and just about every season that we've been running the VML. So y'all are great and we adore you. And it has been an honor and a pleasure absolutely to have you on here tonight, Megan. So thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you give a little, a last little see you later and tell us a little bit more about yourself for anybody who missed the beginning.
Yeah, thank you all so much for having me. First of all, this was so delightful. Like, what a great couple of hours watching some great games of Magic. I absolutely love the VML. I love watching the Magic played in the VML. If you want to hear me talk more Magic along with Maria Bartholdi, you can listen to Good Luck High Five, which is our weekly podcast where we talk about all aspects of Magic. In fact, coming up this Tuesday, we're releasing what we're calling our spring break episode, which is going to be us playing mostly like the silly like Pack Wars style games that we've developed over the course of the show because it's very dreary in Minnesota right now. So if you need like specifically if you need a nice spring break pick me up, like some good laughs, just having a good time, check out this coming week's episode of Good Luck High Five.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for joining us. And Misha, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before we sign off?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I am Magic Mishamigo over on Twitter and Instagram. Mishamigo on Twitch. I love Magic. I love Limited, Commander. I play them. I have a good time with it. I sometimes cosplay. I've done Fibblethip. I've got something weird in the works. So, that's me.
It's not Skrill, is it?
Not Krell. Not that weird.
It
Still
should be.
weird.
I've
Not that
just
weird.
had an idea. I've had an epiphany.
Maybe I'll make the crawling chorus for one day.
Oh my goodness.
There was one at Philly, and it was
Terrifying.
terrifying. There was my favorite picture. It was, do you know Gritty? I'm a big hockey fan. Gritty, the NHL Flyers mascot. Yeah, it was like all the faces, and you could put your face in, and Gritty had his face in it. It was terrifying. That's
that so
terrifying.
much.
Yeah, it was
Amazing.
terrifying in the most amazing way. It truly was. But again, yes, thank you all so much. Wizards, good luck, high five. Thank you to our admin team. Thank you to our whole team of casters, all of our amazing players that recorded everything for us, our viewers. You all are amazing. And the biggest thanks every week. I adore her. I love her. And no one could, do what she does any better. Phoebe, our producer, is the most amazing person on this planet, and this is being recorded, so you can hold me to that. You can clip it. I love you, Phoebe. Thank you so much for all you do. The VML would not be the VML without you, and all of you too. So tune in again next week, same
Sorry,
bat time, same bat channel. Yes.
Your mic was muted. Would you repeat?
Oh.
I'm kidding.
I'll say it again, Phoebe. I will. I'll go to the top of the tallest building in Long Island, which is not very high. So, but catch you all next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, here on twitch.tv/VMLMTG. Have a wonderful night.